Hello and welcome to a spoiler free, non biased review of Batman vs Superman. I saw it last night and I enjoyed it quite a bit, but the internet doesn't seem to think so. As you've probably heard, the critics are very angry. They hate the movie. There's fanboys everywhere who are saying that DC fucked up again, and let's talk about that. I have some different opinions from what people normally expect. First of all, I want to say I am not a DC fanboy. That is why this is going to be a non-biased review. I am not a fan of the DC comics. I have never read them. I've never really watched any of the DC TV shows. I am quite a big fan of Marvel, but not of DC. The only real experience I have with DC is when I was like a kid, maybe 8, 9 years old, maybe younger. I used to watch the Justice League cartoons and I used to love them, but I was kind of young to understand what was happening. I was from like 6 or 7 actually. So yeah, I have no biased opinions. And these days it seems that everybody is a fanboy, everybody's a comic book fan, so everybody basically has the same strong biased opinion. I'm not, so I'm going to give you a new perspective to everything. Let's get started. First of all, I want to say Zack Snyder has done a good job with the movie. You might have seen Man of Steel and thought that the movie was not going to be good because Zack Snyder fucked up Man of Steel. It was kind of disappointing, but it's not a bad movie. As for cast and acting, which is the core component of this movie, it's well done. The cast is perfect. Ben Affleck makes an amazing Batman. In fact, he makes a better Batman than what's his name, Christian Bale. Um, he is Ben Affleck is to Batman what Robert Downey Jr. is to Tony Stark. He embodies Bruce Wayne. He is the best Bruce Wayne you'll ever see, and I think he does an amazing job. He plays it off well. Lex Luthor is the one who stands out the most. He's probably the best cast actor. Um, this is the best Lex Luthor you'll ever see as well. Superman is pretty good. Superman and Wonder Woman are both very good. I can't say much about Wonder Woman because there was a very small role for her in the movie. From what I can tell, she knows what she's doing, but until we get a Wonder Woman movie, it's hard to say if she's a good casting choice. I think she's a good casting choice, though. It's not every day you get an actress from Israel playing Wonder Woman. Um, Other than the movie and the acting, the visuals is probably the best thing about the movie. You know, Zack Snyder, he has his own special, unique style of visuals. He uses a lot of CGI. If you've seen Watchmen and 300, you know that he uses a lot of CGI, but it's the good kind of CGI, like the really vibrant, colorful CGI. And you almost think that if this wasn't CGI, it probably wouldn't look as good. So, as for the visuals, that's the main key thing that will keep you entertained throughout the movie. It's a very very good looking movie. It's a mighty spectacle. Plot wise, like I said, it's Zack Snyder, and don't expect that intricacy that you've come to expect from Marvel. See, Zack Snyder, when he makes movies, he takes point A, he takes point B, and he connects them however he can, hitting all the plot points he needs to hit. It's not as intricate as a Marvel movie, which is why I think a lot of people say the plot is bad. It's not bad. It's simple, very simple and straightforward. There's nothing where you have to think too deeply into it. It's a good plot. However, keep in mind that Zack Snyder had a huge task ahead of him. He had to not just pit Batman and Superman against each other. Remember, this Batman is not the same. This is not Christopher Nolan's Batman. This is a different Batman, which means he had to build this character from scratch. He had to build Wonder Woman from scratch. He had to build Lex Luthor from scratch. He had to build Gotham, this current new Gotham, from scratch. He had to build everything in the movie other than Superman is built from scratch. Not just that, he also had to build a premise for these two to fight on. Unlike DC, like Marvel, who spent a couple of movies building that premise between Iron Man and Captain America to finally pit them against each other, Zack Snyder had to do that all in one movie, and this movie is supposed to be a setup for Justice League. So plot wise, it's very rushed. Like there'll be bits, and there's a lot of cuts as well. Like you can tell Zack Snyder, he's probably made a much longer movie, but he had to cut off a lot of parts. There's like scenes where it jumps from one scene to the next. All of a sudden, there's like new characters being thrown at you at the very beginning. All kinds of characters, and some of the plot points are very weird, as if he just had to do something, so he did whatever he had to do to get there. This will be most evident right before Superman and Batman fight. You will see, if you haven't seen the movie already, then you will see, and if you've seen it, then you know that the way they were both made to fight was very strange, completely unexpected. Um, the the characters and the plot is kind of unnatural, unlike Marvel, which is so natural that you can kind of imagine what's going to happen next. Year you can't do that. It's just all kinds of crazy shit coming out from everywhere just to get these two to fight and have the stuff done. But it's not a bad plot. It's not like a movie where you'll just go and see and you'll be like, oh, this is boring or it's bad. I can tell you now that throughout the entirety of this movie, I did not pull my eyes away from the screen even once. It's that entertaining. It's a very entertaining plot, and considering how bad some plots get these days, I think this is quite a improvement. So yeah, just get over the fact that it's rushed. He sacrificed the Justice League setup and the character introductions so that he could spend some time building the premise between Superman and Batman. Even though he did this, their motivations are still a little bit fucked up. Without giving away any spoilers, I'll just talk a little bit about that. You already know Batman's motivation from the trailer, right? Batman is pretty obvious. He's afraid. He's very scared that Superman is going to destroy the world. Why this compels him to go to war against Superman, it's not made clear. There was no time for that. Superman basically has little to no motivation. They make it seem like a bit of a spoiler, but they basically make it seem like he's angry that Batman is a vigilante, which is a hypocritical thing because he himself is a godlike vigilante. So I don't see why they both fought against each other, and in the end, see, there was no actual motivation for them to fight. It was just forced onto them. The battle was forced onto them. Um, so there really was that lack of that feeling that you get when these two fight, that you would get when Iron Man and Captain America fight. You'll get that feeling. Here you won't get that feeling because there's been such so little motivational development for them to fight each other. The fight itself is amazing though. I mean, if you were expecting, it's short. It's very short. It's not like the entire movie is just them fighting, but the fight is. I think it was fairly satisfying, and I don't think you'll be upset at how the fight ends. I liked it. Shouldn't have any problems with that. So that's it for the movie. Style. One more thing people are complaining about, it's nitty gritty, and people are upset that it's not carefree and humorous like Marvel. See, Marvel has made a big dent in the industry with that humorous, carefree stuff. DC cannot do that. If they do that, people will complain that they're copying Marvel. So DC has taken a different approach, which is an nitty-gritty approach. And keep in mind, Marvel didn't always make humorous movies. I think all Marvel movies before Guardians of the Galaxy were not that funny. They were light-hearted, but it's not like they were filled with jokes. It's only Guardians of the Galaxy, and then the second Avengers, and then Ant-Man, Deadpool, which had really had that humorous feeling. And DC tried that with Green Lantern. It was a fucking failure. So I don't think you should. It's not too dark as people are saying. Some people are saying the movie takes itself way too seriously. It doesn't. I think it's pretty nicely done. It's dark and it's grim and it's a refreshing change from Marvel. Now, the elephant in the room, the last thing that I want to address, which is probably what people are waiting for. It's not satisfying if you're a DC fanboy, but you know what? Get over it. Just get over that. If you thought that from this movie, I can tell, if you think that Justice League is going to be the Avengers of DC, please give up that hope. This movie does not cater to fanboys. DC does not cater to fanboys like Marvel does. It's completely original. Zack Snyder. It's his unique style of movie making, which Like I said, Zack Snyder's made some amazing movies like 300 and Watchmen, but those were amazing because they were made in a certain unique style. And if you take that away, then the movie loses what makes it good. Because that's what Zack Snyder brings to this movie. So it's very dark and gritty, and it's not what you were expecting as a DC fanboy. It doesn't make references or stroke you a little bit, being like, "Oh, look, you this was from the comics and now it's in the movie." No, it doesn't do it the same way as the comics. Of course, I've never read the comics, so I'll not know. But I've seen the cartoon, and it really isn't similar. As for the setup for Justice League is unlike Marvel, where there's subtle references to the next movie. This one doesn't have any. It's a very, I'm just small spoiler, but the setup for Justice League is in your face. I mean, they don't just leave it subtly; they'll make it very evident that this movie will lead up to Justice League, and here are all the references to Justice League crammed into one single scene. So, yeah, that's there. And what I find weird, one bad thing about this movie, Marvel has two shows, right, which is Agents of Shield and Agent Carter. But if you haven't seen those, you can still understand all Marvel movies as long as you've seen each one. But this movie, I think, makes references to the two DC TV shows. I think, if I can recall two, which one is Green Arrow and one is Flash, and I know both of them tied together. I think this movie makes references to that, but I can't say because I've never seen those two shows. But considering how it doesn't really cater to fanboys at all, I don't know why it makes references to these side stories. It's almost like you want to please the fanboys and piss them off at the same time. So yeah, I think that was unnecessary because I went with some people who have no idea about DC. So there were some bits of the movie which they couldn't understand because it makes references to Green Arrow and Flash, I think. But yeah, that's kind of what they built the Justice League setup on. They don't spend any time on any backstory for Justice League. It's just all of a sudden in your face, Justice League, and very little time is spent on it. If so, yeah, like I said, he wanted to make a good movie. He decided that Justice League wasn't important enough for this movie, and he cut it out. That might upset you, and I do feel sorry for DC fans. But as a casual moviegoer, I think the movie is great. And yes, I'm sorry, but I mean, what else did you expect with Zack Snyder? He's not going to be your savior. I'm sorry. You're not going to get, especially if you're someone who doesn't like Marvel movies, then you're kind of fucked because you're never going to get your DC Avengers essentially. Justice League is more or less going to be the exact same thing from what I can tell. But it's not as disappointing as Man of Steel. Uh, Marvel has this set style of making superhero movies, and people have come to take that for granted. People think that a superhero movie needs to be like a Marvel movie, and I really admire Zack Snyder for how the way he's made this movie. It's a breath of fresh air. We can't keep. I like Marvel movies a lot, but I don't like how they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and every movie is basically just there so that maybe a filler between the one Avengers movie and the next Avengers movie. I like this movie. It doesn't try to be a filler. It doesn't try to fall into place in the DC universe. It's an independent movie, and as a movie, it's good. And yeah, while since Marvel is doing its fanboy catering and it's one single way of making movies, I think Zack Snyder and the DC are a good counterbalance, and I like the originality. Just in case you're thinking it's not how you expect, whatever you're thinking about this movie and however you expect it to be, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be very different, and I love that. So yeah, if I had to rate this movie, I would give it a 4 out of 5. 5 stars, I would give it 4 stars. It's a couple of problems with it, but all in all, if you're a casual moviegoer, I suggest you go see it. Then please go watch it. I If I had to sum it up in one line, I would say it's a good superhero movie, but a bad comic book movie.